Good morning. Please be seated. Before we begin, some quick announcements. Please turn off your phones, your watches, your alarms, your tablets, and any other device that beeps, chirps, talks, makes orders, places orders, or expects a pizza delivery here in the chapel that could be distracting. Thank you. The ceremony will last about 90 minutes. Please avoid getting up and walking in the aisles during the ceremony, as doing so may disturb others. With those formalities aside, please relax and enjoy the celebration. Welcome, family, friends, faculty, guests, alumni, and graduates to the 2019 Graduate Convocation of the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs of Syracuse University. I'm David Van Slyke, Dean of the Maxwell School, and it is my great honor to welcome you here today. I would also like to acknowledge, with respect, the Onondaga Nation firekeepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous people upon whose ancestral lands Syracuse University now stands. For all of our students and families, I know that this has been a challenging and I hope a rewarding experience. As the students have learned, and as their friends and family have most likely heard, members of the Maxwell faculty take seriously their responsibilities to push our students beyond long reading lists, assignments, papers, presentations, and group projects. As researchers and teachers, we're deeply committed to creating a learning environment focused on the future through a deep understanding of the past and present, thereby enhancing students' abilities to adapt to complexity and uncertainty through the development and application of critical thinking. And because you, our students, come from different backgrounds, different disciplines, and have quite varied expectations for your professional work, a Maxwell education is oriented toward preparing you as much for your future career, in some cases, as it is designed for helping you secure your first position out of grad school. We expect that all Maxwell faculty, staff, students, and alumni commit to the values of the Athenian Oath, to leave a place greater, better, and more beautiful than they found it. This defines our commitment to citizenship and public service. And we believe that public service can happen anywhere, in any sector or work, and throughout your professional, avocational, and personal pursuits. Across the world, more than ever, we need active, engaged, and thoughtful citizens. Individuals with a commitment to a diversity of perspectives, experience, and goals. People who are willing to listen, to learn, and participate. Those at times respectfully challenge others' positions, and who are always focused on improving and strengthening our communities, and not simply defending or advancing a particular position or argument. And yet we must not become tolerant of intolerance. We must fight against it. Racism, sexism, and many other forms of ways in which individuals are discriminated against. At the conclusion of today's ceremony, you will formally become alumni of the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University. You will follow in the tradition of impressive alumni like Donna Shalala, Sean O'Keefe, Howie Fansteel, Kathy Dakoff, Allegra Ivy, James Willey, and Steve Haggerty. We believe that your commitment to public service, wherever you are and whatever you do, will remain a defining, lifelong legacy of your experience here at Maxwell. We hope you will keep us updated on where you are and what you're doing, so that we can celebrate your accomplishments and the difference that you are making in the lives of others. We also hope that you'll seize the opportunity to become engaged alumni by giving your time, your expertise, and your philanthropy to future generations of Maxwell students. just as previous generations have similarly supported you. To kick off today's ceremony, it is our custom to have a graduating student offer a greeting to our guests on behalf of the class. This year's student address will be given by Raisa Figueiredo. As Raisa comes to the podium, let me tell you a little bit about her. Raisa recently completed the Executive Masters of Public Administration online degree program here at the Maxwell School. She is part of the historic first class to earn their Maxwell degree online. Raisa is a career public servant who started her career in procurement at the United States Coast Guard Telecommunications Systems Command. There, she assisted the organization in procuring technology solutions for deployment in the field. Currently, she's a contract specialist with the Department of Education, Office of Federal Student Aid, where she focuses on financial and human capital and management services, all focused on helping the agency drive toward its mission of making higher education accessible to as many students as possible. And in her spare time, though she's had little of it over the last 18 months, she enjoys traveling and spending time with her close family and friends. Raisa?
Thank you, Dean Van Slyke, and thank you to the faculty, administrators, graduates, and families who were able to make it here this morning. Your dedication, support, and guidance are undoubtedly the reason that many of us are here today. I want to first say a few words about the Maxwell School. When George Maxwell had his initial vision for the school back in the early 1920s, his primary objective was to cultivate a program where students could be trained as informed citizens. And that means making sure that when we leave here, we leave with values, and that our values are sound and well-informed, and that we make decisions not just to benefit ourselves, but to benefit the society that we live in. That we leave knowing our duties to participate and to engage in our communities, and that we know our rights as citizens, and that we are aware of the rights of our peers. What Maxwell's vision almost certainly did not include is a program that has the reach to touch so many students, not just here in New York and not even just in the United States, but around the world. Since then, the school has taken on students at every level and has even created inroads for students to complete the program remotely while still operating as working professionals. The online EMPA program is an excellent example of how Maxwell has leveraged its esteemed faculty and broadened its reach through flexibility and technology. But for those of us in the program, and I know for other master's and PhD students in the room, this is probably true too, the flexibility of any program certainly doesn't mean you magically have all this free time. It just means that you have the flexibility to sleep or to finish writing your capstone paper. But you know, as we reflect on the work that we all put into getting here today, and the challenges that we overcame, whether it was balancing a family life, a new job, or a challenging career, we graduated from what is, in so many disciplines, one of the top-ranked schools in the nation. And that's a big deal. And I think in hindsight, it's very easy to say it was all worth it. For the remainder of the time, I want to share a bit more of a personal anecdote, but I think a mindset or a feeling that we've all had at some point. I spent a lot of time over the spring and summer of 2017 researching MPA programs across the country. After applying to Maxwell, I nervously awaited the result. At this point, I had already committed that Maxwell was my top choice. So once I got my acceptance letter, my decision was easy. And it wasn't really till the first week of classes when our professors asked us to introduce ourselves to our peers, who we'd take this journey with, that it really hit me. I was, without a doubt, the least qualified person in the room. And I mean that as a fact. I was going to be studying alongside senior government executives, business owners, academics, nonprofit directors, and philanthropists, to name a few. And what that meant for me was that it was going to be a difficult road, especially in the beginning. And that proved to be true. I remember that I spent the first few semesters almost obsessively evaluating my responses against those of my peers and trying to figure out what analyses they had made that maybe I didn't pick up on. While this certainly contributed to a level of anxiety and contributed to some extra work that I probably didn't have the capacity for, it ultimately forced me to learn from 12 or 15 people instead of just a professor or two. This served me well, and slowly I began to. Looking back now, it's pretty easy to identify that feeling of uncertainty as the driver for my extra effort. History has shown us plenty of examples of this. It's why so many entrepreneurs are first-generation immigrants. It's why most professional boxers come from underserved communities. And it's why people like my father, who brought us here from Brazil over 25 years ago, had the motivation to earn his PhD in public administration, become an expert in statistical analysis, and continues practicing fluency in 4 languages, even at the age of 65. The key I've learned is that it doesn't take genius or some ethereal intelligence to succeed and achieve your goals. But what it does take is a constant challenge, a willingness to put yourself in situations where you may in fact be the least talented person in the room. Maybe the sloppiest writer, the least mathematically inclined economist, the French student whose bad accent isn't just English, but Portuguese too. Sorry, Dad. The most nervous public speaker, that's for me. Or the worst chef. Surrounding yourself with people that are skilled, motivated, and have the willingness to challenge your thoughts will make you better. I have no doubt about it. The program at Maxwell gave me that, and now the challenge for us all is to go out and find that in our personal and professional lives. Find your Maxwell. Find that thing that you enjoy, that you're passionate about, but that maybe you aren't an expert at just yet. Put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, and don't settle until you are. To my peers, professors, advisors, and Syracuse and the Maxwell School, a sincere thank you for the inspiration and the challenge. The best part about the Maxwell Mafia is that this isn't by any means a goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Haisa. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Associate Dean Carol Faulkner, who will recognize outstanding academic awards for 2019. Dean Faulkner is the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and a professor of history in the Maxwell School. She's the author of multiple books that explore the history of women, race, and social movements in the United States, including Lucretia Mott's Heresy, a biography of the pioneering Quaker minister, abolitionist, and women's civil rights activist. Carol?
Hi. Every year, each department in Maxwell reviews the dissertations from their PhD candidates, and each selects a recipient for recognition. I would ask the following winners of the 2019 Doctoral Prize Awards, if present, to come up on stage to be recognized. Please find the titles of each winner's dissertation in the program. For anthropology, Christopher Waters. Economics, Judith Liu. History, Kashana Soldier. Geography, Jesse Spear. Political science, Drew Kinney. Public administration and international affairs, Soo-Yeon Jo. Social science, Olga Boychuk, and Tracy Vargas from sociology. Each year, the graduate school solicits nominations and presents awards for outstanding teaching assistants. These awards recognize approximately 4% of teaching assistants campus-wide. This year's winners from Maxwell include Aaron Blazek from Gaboychik from Social Science, Mehdi Nejatbakhsh from Sociology, Aykut Ozturk from Political Science, Kashana Soldier from History, and Sarah Stegman from History. If any of these outstanding teaching assistants are present, please stand and let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, Carol. Now the part of the ceremony you have all been waiting for, when we recognize each of our graduates. You have come from across the United States and all over the world. Some of you came to Maxwell directly from undergraduate studies, with little or no professional work experience. Some of you have had substantial prior work experience, and some of you have completed this work on campus and others online. Some of you have been juggling work, graduate school, and parenting. And for those in this latter category, we offer a special congratulations to you. Nell Silva Barkowiak, Director of the EMPA Online Program in Public Administration and International Affairs, and Margaret Lane, Assistant Director in the Executive Education Programs, will read the names of our graduates as they walk across the stage in front of us. Nell, Margaret.
PhD in Anthropology, Jocelyn Kilmer. PhD in Economics, Judith Liu. Kureg Tiedemann. Yanmin Young. PhD in Geography, Jessie Swan Quinn. PhD in History, Mindy Lou Gaffney. PhD in History, Kishana Soldier. Silas Webb, PhD in History. Sinan True, PhD in Political Science. Lee Showell. PhD in Public Administration, Sunyeon Jo. PhD in Social Science, Olga Boychuk. Shin-Yeon Kim. Gary Shaheen. PhD in Sociology, Bernadette White. Master's in Geography, Alex Poteshmeknek. Dominic Wilkins. Master's in History, Mohammed Attar. Christine Hartman. Kimberly Hodges. Martin Lopez Galicia. Master's in Political Science, Myasia Cologne. Masters in International Relations, Ian Gottesfeld. Sanjana Suresh. Lorraine Bauer. Masters in Public Administration and International Relations, Emma Buckout. Cybel Rodriguez. Masters in International Relations, Amory Sanders. Masters in International Relations and Public Relations, Yonggun Lee. Masters in International Relations and Economics, Jorge Valdebinti Benito. Masters of International Relations and Public Relations, Yu Chen. Masters in International Relations, Lisa Fry. Chuki Yonki. Masters of International Relations and Public Relations, Lindsay. Masters of International Relations, Atlantis Program, Federico Ole. Carl Clausen. Kem Raz Sadai. Executive Masters in International Free. Executive Masters in International Relations, Nagesh Borse. Ria Bambande. Ava Kavari. Autumn Moore. Masters of International Relations, Giovanni Sachochow. Sarah Buell. Arpan Dal.
Executive Master of Public Administration, Luisa Luperdi. Yamali Bazil. Lori Banks Dutta. Elizabeth. Master of Public Administration and International Relations, DeAndre Dujan Smith. Executive Masters of Public Administration, Colleen Kane. McLaughlin. Emily Weaver. Jennifer Guatkin. Jonathan Leone. Kemba Tamar. Dana Gibson. Shelley Graham. Mary Gladstone Highland. Kristen Duffy. Catherine Ferguson. Haisa Figueredo. Rachel Kunch. Jennifer Conway. Philip Christensen. Allison Sinkovich. Megan Stewart. Cleveland. Executive Masters in International Relations, Xiaoshu Lin. Robert Ara. Executive Masters in Public Administration and International Relations, Daniel Chams. Executive Master of Public Administration, Holtzapfel Cridge. Nicholas Haskell. Elizabeth Pillion. Gina Iliev. Abdul Sabor. Executive Master of Public Administration and International Relations, Lindsay Rufa. Executive Master of Public Administration, Tucker. Yusuf Abdul Qadir. Elisa Rodriguez Ortiz. Nick. Arnor Sartov. Samat Ziashev. Ricardo Mena Burgos. Izumi Kikuno. Sonmoni Bora. Deborah Inita Franklin Gopinath. Rajalingam S. Bin Guo. Ranga Rao. Asel Birnazarova. Alia Saranova. Master of Public Administration, Kiva Green. Master of Public Administration, Christina Parsons. Indira Galvez. Markel Destiny Mans. Master of Public Administration and SUNY ESF, Gretchen Dillon. Master of Public Administration, Mary Rachel Kevel. Master of Sociology, Afomia Gebrawold. Sociology, Nesma El Samawi. Certificate of Advanced Study in Public Administration, Darshnita Aluwalia. Sanjay Kaul. Venkata Harikrishna Palkuri. Surendra Pandey. Gaurav Masaldan.
Let's have one more round of applause for all of our graduating students. It's now my pleasure to invite back to the stage Carol Faulkner, who will recognize our 2019 Daniel Patrick Moynihan Award for Teaching and Research.
In 1986, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who was a former junior faculty member in Maxwell from 1959 to 1961, and went on to serve as U.S. Senator and statesman, endowed the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Award to be presented annually to an outstanding untenured faculty member who excels in teaching, research, and Senator Moynihan recognized the crucial importance of retaining promising young faculty members and funded the award to help Maxwell do so. This award is the most valued recognition earned by a junior faculty member in the Maxwell School. The 2019 recipient of the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Award for Teaching and Research is Guido Pezzarosi, Assistant Professor of Anthropology. Guido. Each year, the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Award winner serves as our featured speaker at Convocation. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Guido Pezzarosi to you. He is an assistant professor of anthropology, and he joined the faculty in 2014 after receiving a PhD in anthropology at Stanford University, which you can tell by his lovely red robes. At Syracuse, Guido's research and teaching have focused on the use of archaeology to better understand the entanglements between colonialism and capitalism and more thoroughly reconstruct the diverse assemblage of human and non-human actors that comprised early modern colonial contexts in the New World. Please join me in congratulating and welcoming Guido.
Well, thanks so much, everyone, for having me. And again, congratulations to all of you for what is a massive achievement and just, a special note of appreciation for what it took you all to get here. countless hours of labor, sacrificing time with family and friends, financial burdens taken on and dealt with, as well as the bodily debts incurred by the sedimentary nature of graduate-level academic work, including the dreaded study injuries. I want to take a bit of time that I have here to thank folks to make sure that their contributions to my work are being properly recognized, and that the collaborative spirit and process that I try to make central to my own work be front and center. To the Moynihan Award Selection Committee, to Deans Van Slyke, Faulkner, and London, and my other colleagues and administrators in the Maxwell School for their multifaceted support these last few years, their encouragement, especially with the at times unusual requests for help related to running field and lab-based archaeological projects, and generally dealing with the quirkiness that comes with being an archaeologist. To my colleagues in the Department of Anthropology who have been exemplary in establishing a supportive and welcoming environment for new faculty, especially one fresh from graduate school, stumbling around, learning how to do practically everything, and for demonstrating the efficacy of that supportive environment in helping junior faculty achieve their goals, and perhaps most importantly, for helping me feel like I belong here. I would also like to offer an especially enthusiastic thank you to the students at Syracuse University. You all have become enmeshed and crucial contributors to everything I do. Inspiration, motivation, and direct, tangible contributions to improving my research and teaching. In particular, the anthropology department hosted an international conference this past weekend, and these meetings were largely driven by graduate student organization and really made possible by their efforts and undergraduate volunteer efforts as well. And lastly, I'd like to reiterate acknowledgement with respect of the Onondaga Nation, the indigenous people on whose ancestral land Syracuse now stands. In addition to the descendants of the Kaqchikel Maya community members of Paramos, Guatemala, for welcoming onto their land and enthusiastically engaging in collaborative research on their history, for trusting me with oral histories that are at times painful to remember, as the places central to the colonial history of their community intersect with the violence of the more recent conflicts in Highland Guatemala. And of course, to the wide network of collaborators and family in Guatemala who consistently make feasible the research that we carry out together. I want to also acknowledge the Ho-Chunk on whose ancestral land our field school research program is carried out, and my collaborators in Shullsburg, Wisconsin, whose love and appreciation of history has driven our project at a mining boomtown located in their backyard. I want to return to a point I made earlier about fostering inclusion, both in our work, but also within our disciplines, by striving to make our colleagues, our students, and the communities we work with feel that they belong, that they are stakeholders whose voices are not just included, but heard. In this vein, my research is centered on using archaeology in conjunction with oral history and archival evidence to emphasize hidden and neglected histories and decolonize dominant narratives by recovering traces of the lives and experiences of those of little note through their daily practices and the things they did that bring new perspectives on the experiences and ways of being in the world that have at times been distorted, erased, or systematically ignored. I focus on the experiences of colonial Maya and indigenous communities in Guatemala in order to make sense of how particular economic, political, and material processes and practices shaped and continue to shape that structure the relationship between indigenous communities and the Guatemalan state, that underwrites of indigenous communities in Guatemala from the national project. I try and make this work speak back against enduring colonial discourses that root indigenous communities as solely in the past, or worse, as vanished, and as not belonging to the modern world of which they are a part, despite enduring and persisting through the multifaceted violence of colonization. My more recent collaborations have seen archaeology add on to oral histories from community elders and build on the historical work they have already accumulated and wanted to share among scholarly communities and the public. I've seen aspects of my work shift towards being more of a facilitator for these knowledges and voices. My current project at the colonial Maya community of Paramos fits this mold, as local community members, especially Sostenes Salazar, has tried to establish an archaeological research project at the site for more than 25 years, yet had been ignored given the bias against the colonial history of the Maya by archaeologists and the avocational nature of the archival work that he has carried out, which was seen as not having a place within this scholarly discussion. I'm sure many of you have already engaged in similar work, and in some cases you yourselves are providing and incorporating those excluded voices. However, you all are in an interesting transition point, leaving graduate school and entering positions where you'll be more visible as knowledge producers, recognized as experts, and looked to as leaders, as those with answers. It can feel like a radical shift at times, lurching to the other side of things and finding yourself surrounded by people whose work has influenced your own or you've molded your career after, except now you call them your colleagues. Intensifying or kicking off that feeling of not belonging, that dreaded imposter syndrome that drives you to wonder right before you fall asleep if it's possible that some kind of weird administrative error led to your hire. For students from historically marginalized communities, immigrants, first generation, economically precarious and non-traditional backgrounds, this feeling can be ever present. I speak from experience about this, and it's something that I'm sure many of you share. I was born in Guatemala, and as the violence of the Civil War, a legacy of colonial and Western imperial interventions intensified and ensnared us, we moved to Chicago to live in my aunt's unfinished basement, as my parents found places to work that would not hold their accents against them. We lived through the cultural and physical isolation that comes with being immigrants, and the associated precarity that comes with starting anew in a place that is now home, even though you are constantly reminded in a variety of ways that maybe you don't quite belong. Given the recent demonization of immigrants, especially those from Mexican countries like Guatemala in particular, such feelings of exclusion have only intensified of late. I've been lucky to fall into a variety of support networks in my education and career, for my family, my graduate cohorts, advisors and mentors who have modeled the efficacy of compassion, generosity, and care in making students and colleagues feel they have a place and voice worth hearing in academia and beyond. I found that here in Maxwell, and I can't express how much it means to be recognized and to be heard by colleagues I look up to and want to be just like when I grow up. As you move on from SU with your graduate degrees, you'll quickly find yourselves in positions of power, sitting on committees and boards with the ability to drive policy, to make changes, to serve or continue to serve as advisors and mentors and educators. You'll do great things, but whatever the field, discipline, sector you end up in, work to foster not just inclusion and diversity, but a sense of belonging, particularly for our more vulnerable neighbors and communities, and for knowledge and positionalities still neglected or minimized. It's important to work towards undermining structural obstacles keeping students and colleagues from contributing to the process and institutions of knowledge production. Work not to insulate yourself in those existing structures, but instead to actively demystify various aspects of academia, academic life, graduate school, and other career opportunities. Work to build collaborations and relationships and not extractive networks of contacts. And work to draw as many as possible into conversation with knowledge producers like yourself, of which you are now more visibly a part. Beyond the structural, don't neglect the everyday. As archaeologists, we're attuned to the day-to-day, the quotidian acts of refuse disposal or food preparation that accrete into monumental heaps that record centuries of action. Decolonization needs to work against structural obstacles and in local contexts of their articulation. At the same time, at the scale of microaggressions as part of day-to-day interactions in hallways, classrooms, at parties, and meetings. Takami Delisle has published a great blog post titled, in footnotes, titled Decolonizing Everyday Praxis in Space, Decolonizing Anthropology, that speaks really well to this point. They note, quote, decolonization is not a synonym of diversity or inclusion. Cultivating a decolonial space is a process that begins with privileging silenced voices to interrogate how unjust structures have been reproduced by and within them. We have to do better every time and every day. Just because we did better one time, that doesn't mean we accomplished it. We just have to do better all the time. And that involves decolonial policies, curriculum, syllabi, mentorship, communications, everyday operations of our departments and professional organizations, and our everyday practices. We have to work to craft and translate decolonial policies into everyday actions, even if it is painfully apparent that we cannot fix the unjust system tomorrow or next week. So with that, congratulations to all of you, to your families, and to the more equitable and just futures you'll lead us to soon. Thanks very much.
Many faculty members of the Maxwell community were recognized for outstanding professional achievements this past year, and I'd like to share them with you. For the Meredith Teaching Recognition Award, the university recognizes excellence in teaching at the non-tenured faculty rank sponsored by the Meredith professors. This year, Tessa Murphy, professor of history, received the university's Meredith Teaching Recognition Award. Is Tessa here? The Graduate School honors faculty members whose dedication to graduate students and commitment to excellence in graduate teaching and mentoring have made a significant contribution to graduate education at Syracuse University. The 2019 recipients from the Maxwell faculty are Andrew Cohen, Professor of History, Seth Jolly, Associate Professor of Political Science, Jennifer Carras-Montes, Professor of Sociology, and Guido Pessarosi, Assistant Professor of Anthropology. Please join me in congratulating them. The William Wasserstrom Prize for Graduate Teaching has been awarded to Deborah Pello, Professor of Anthropology. A 2019-2020 Fulbright U.S. Scholar Grant to Russia. The recipient is Craig Champion, Professor of History, and Yingyi Ma, is Craig Champion, Professor of History. Yingyi Ma, one of our Associate Professors of Sociology, received a Public Intellectuals Program Fellowship appointed by the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations for 2019 to 2021. Thomas Keck, Professor of Political Science, and Michael O. Sawyer Chair of Constitutional Law and Politics, was named a 2019 Andrew Carnegie Fellow, one of only 32 recipients chosen from hundreds of applications nationally. The Carnegie Fellowships are the most generous and prestigious fellowships in the social sciences and humanities. Congratulations to Tom. As we move to the end of our ceremony, I would be remiss if I did not thank our incredible Maxwell staff for all their hard work in planning this event and the superb work they do all year long. Please join me in recognizing Maxwell team Jessica Whitley, Holly Johnson, and Kathleen Bruner, who have organized this meaningful event, along with Margaret Lane, Nell Silva Barkowiak, the great staff in ICT, our numerous staff, volunteers from across all Maxwell departments, and the faculty that have worked with passion and commitment to ensure that you've had the most enriching experience possible. An academic program is only as strong as its faculty. Will all Maxwell faculty stand and please be recognized? Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging our faculty's dedication and service to students, the Maxwell School, and the university. They're an amazing group of teachers, scholars, and colleagues. I'm grateful to work with them each day, and thank you for all of your continued commitment to excellence. Before we end our ceremony, I send you off to celebrate with your friends and family. We will conclude with a great Maxwell tradition, the reading of the Athenian Oath. I ask that you all rise and join me in reciting the oath located on the back page of your program. We will ever strive for the ideals and sacred things of the city, both alone and with many. We will unceasingly seek to quicken the sense of public duty. We will revere and obey the city's laws. We will transmit this city not only not less, but greater, better, and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. Thank you. You may be seated. I hope that your time spent at the Maxwell School will serve you well in the years to come. You have made friends here that will last a lifetime. Part of what unites you as friends, the experience here, also unites you with more than 30,000 Maxwell alumni around the world. They want to get to know you and to support you in the months and years ahead. Starting today, you extend and strengthen the Maxwell Alumni Network, and we expect to see you similarly reach out and support fellow alumni and future Maxwell students. Your commitment becomes a part of the tradition, the success, and the soul of the Maxwell School. On behalf of all of us here on the stage and the faculty and staff who could not be here today, it has been a great pleasure for each of us to know all of you during your years here at Maxwell. We can't wait to see all of the amazing things that you accomplish, and we hope that you'll keep in touch and don't be afraid to brag to us. Learning about and sharing your news is one of the best parts of our jobs. So, how about one more round of applause for the 2019 graduating class? The official party on stage will leave first. Students will follow row by row from the front to the back, led by your class marshal, Sybil Rodriguez de Valle. I ask all guests to remain in place until all of the students have recessed. I invite you all to join us at the reception honoring all of our students outside in the Maxwell Courtyard. The 2019 Maxwell Graduate Convocation is now adjourned.